Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, no banner, no girl, only Shane Beauregard. How are you, sir?
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I originally had he has issues, but I thought that might be a little too vague for that, where you just would be like, all right, man, that's an affront. I'm fighting words.
Oh, man.
But good to see you, man. Huge movie on the docket this week. We are dipping back into the MCU for Spider-Man, Brand New Day. A movie, Shane, that so when the trailer first dropped for this movie, it received 719 million online views within the first 24 hours. And I think every single one of those 719 million people saw this movie this weekend.
Yes, I agree.
It is bananas how much money this movie has made. We're talking, it is currently up to $932 million for the weekend, and just destroyed the Thursday, preview record. I want to say it had like 72 million just in Thursday or something alone. And of course, we'll get into all the positive reviews and all the other stuff that's going to make this movie just climb and climb and climb. And who knows where it can go now that it almost made a bill in one weekend. So we're probably talking, $2 million range, which is something we haven't seen in some time. But Shane, let's start with your experience, because, we'll get into the movie and all the details and everything else. But, this is a movie that was so crazy. Like, was your place, flooded with people? Was it sold out where you were? All those things.
Dude, I've never in my entire life, I don't even think Endgame was this bad, is that it started showing on the hour every hour from 9 a.m. to whenever. So my kids wanted to see this movie. So I was like, all right, I'll go look for tickets Friday afternoon for Saturday showing. Every single time slot I looked at, the only rows available were the first two.
Wow. Yeah.
So I begrudgingly bought tickets for the second row.
Yep.
Even then, everything was sold out. Like, it sold out. Like, when we sat there, the first row was sold out, second row was sold out. So I've never seen anything like that, dude. Like, in a long, long time. Every hour for the whole day, just packed.
Right.
It was bananas. It's crazy.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this either. And, it's one of those things. I bought my tickets for Thursday night, months in advance, when it first went on sale, because I knew that it was going to do well. But doing this well was not on my radar.
Did not see it coming at all.
Yeah. And I switched my time last minute to try to get to a different show. And thank God that they were literally every half hour, seemingly, or sometimes almost 15 minutes apart, as the weekend started to build and those pre-sales started to add on more and more shows. It was insane. And obviously, mine was sold out, and, people were, the lobby's super full. It, definitely felt like an old school feeling for when that used to just be how the weekends were.
Yeah. Right.
It felt like when I was, working at the movie theater, in the late 90s, early 2000s and things like that. So, yeah, it was definitely a cool thing to see. And yeah, God, with how much money this is going to be, we're going to have to start talking, between this, Odyssey, Toy Story 5, we're only halfway, but I'm sure I would have to double check, but we're probably on pace to beat even pre-COVID numbers at this point. Oh, yeah,
I think so.
And of course, we have way more big blockbusters to come and everything else. So it's going to be an interesting time, especially because, quiet blockbusters like even Resident Evil, I wouldn't be shocked if it does a lot more than even Weapons did. So if you just put even that number there, and that's a smaller version of this, that's insane. Yeah. It's going to be crazy. And then the whole Doomsday thing, the double bill in December, it's incredible. And then Jumanji, and we can keep going. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot. There's going to be multiple billion-dollar movies. And if we get multiple double, like $2 billion movies. Like that's unprecedented. It's crazy out here. So I'm happy for it as a cinephile and as a person who needs these movie theaters to stay alive. This is a good year to be a movie fan. But let's get into whether this is a good time to be an MCU fan. And you know what's funny? And before I get into the details, did you have the thought of like, you're watching this movie, and yes, you're going to get the Marvel logo and everything else, but the first thing you see is Sony. And it made me just sit there thinking, I'm like, what would the MCU be right now if they just didn't have Spider-Man?
Oh,
like,
man.
or like if, because obviously maybe they would have had to do it themselves, but Sony owning like all the best reviewed MCU or Marvel movies in the last, what would you say, decade, they're all the Spider-Man movies, right?
Yeah.
Between the animated and these.
Yeah. No, and I thought about that too. I also thought about like, and there's only been several characters who's had trilogies, right? Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man.
Yeah, right.
I would put this series, the 4 movies, I think it's obviously way better than the Thor 4. And I would even put it ahead of the Captain America. As good as Winter Soldier is and as good as Civil War is,
yeah,
I think this is a better franchise, a better series. And it goes to your point, like if Sony weren't be able to come to that agreement with Marvel, like where would Marvel be right now without the Spider-Man character? It is like it just blows my mind.
And you can make an argument, and something that I may ask you later, something to think about. Is this franchise getting better as it goes along, which is also a thing that doesn't happen.
I had thoughts on that too. We'll get into it.
Yeah, because usually the first or second movie is like the best one, and then it kind of peters off. So we could talk about that, because Spider-Man Brand New Day is here. It is dominating. It has a bunch of great scores, 8.2 IMDb, 65 Metascore, which I thought was a little low for all the hoopla that's happening, considering it has a 4.1 Letterboxd score. Obviously, we talked about the money it's made. This is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who in the MCU universe, Shang-Chi was his last feature for them. Also directed the first 2 episodes of Wonder Man and was part of the creative team on that. This is written by Eric Summers and Chris McKenna, who were the writers on all 4 Tom Holland Spider-Man films to date. This stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, Sadie Sink, Mark Ruffalo, John Bernthal, Jacob Batalon, Trammell Tillman, Liza Colon, Zayas from The Bear, which I saw a fun little thing of. There's now been 6 members of the extended Bear cast that is now in the MCU.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy number. Now adding Liza Colon, Zayas into that as well. The plot, we're catching up with Spider-Man Peter Parker. 4 years have passed since the events of No Way Home, and Peter is now an adult living alone, having voluntarily erased himself from the lives and memories of those he loves. Crime fighting in a New York that no longer knows his name, he's devoted himself entirely to protecting his city. But as the demands on him intensify, the pressure sparks a surprising physical evolution that threatens his existence, even as a strange new pattern of crimes gives rise to one of the most powerful threats he has ever faced. This is the 38th film, Shane, in the MCU.
Yes.
I mean, we're in year 18, so not shocking, I guess. But this is, it's an interesting thing. I've heard everything from this is the best, this is the most comic booky movie. This is, the best collection of comic book character, like superheroes in one movie. I've heard a lot of superlatives. So I want to start with you, sir. What did you think of this movie in the broad strokes? And then we can get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, broad strokes. It was, I had a great time. It was unbelievably better than I honestly thought it was going to be. So a lot of positives for me.
Sure.
Like I was worried about how Frank Castle was going to be involved in this.
Oh, we had so many reservations,
right?
Especially coming off of his Daredevil run.
Yes, not a problem. I thought them two together were the best parts of this movie.
Yeah,
even
they
more.
work well.
Yep,
Good chemistry.
even more so than the Bruce Banner, the Mark Ruffalo stuff, which was good too. That
Right.
was another highlight. That was a fun. Like those are my two favorite scenes.
Yeah.
The prison scene with the hand was
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite scene.
Incredible.
Incredible. So there was just I liked his relationship with Liza Cologne Zayas. I liked that that dynamic. So yeah, man, and I didn't feel the runtime at all. Like it's a 2 hour and 25-minute runtime. I didn't feel it at all. So Sadie Sink as Phoenix, I like the casting. We'll get into it. That's one of my negatives of this movie.
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, yeah.
As
Jean Grey is probably my biggest negative of this movie. But the action was great.
Interesting.
I thought his inner struggle was fantastic. I'm glad they didn't go with the whole man spider thing that was theorized online because that would have been awful. So, but at the end of the day, man, it delivered on everything I thought it would deliver on.
You know, we always talk about like 4-quadrant movies. This is like 4-quadrant as far as like the 4 quadrants of like superhero stuff, right? Because this is for the nerds. It's for the general population. It's for, you know, it's not too crazy to where it can't be for like teens and tweens. Like you took your children. Like it checks off as many boxes as humanly possible, which is why I think you're seeing not only the success of it out the gate, but just, you know, it's got legs now too because of all the positive response and all the people who can ingest this movie. And you see it from the get-go. We talked about all the stuff in the trailer as far as like fighting all these, you know, villains that you see from like the splash page, like the comic book covers and all those things. So you get that deep knowledge stuff, you know, to satisfy you in the beginning, to kind of catch you up with what he's like now. And then, of course, this is a maturation movie. You know, you're seeing not only for Peter Parker, but also like this is Tom Holland saying this is what this character is now. The Brand New Day thing is good for everybody. It's good for Sony and, you know, Marvel, as well as Tom Holland, as well as the character Peter Parker, because we're talking, you know, post Aunt May, you're resetting the dynamic with Zendaya and his friend, like all his friends, all his relationships, everything else. So you have that going as well, but you're also putting him in isolation. He has these limited relationships, like you mentioned, with, you know, with the police, and then, you know, with kind of government institution stuff with the damage control.
Yep.
You know, working with the Trammell Tillman character. Yeah, it's a well moving movie. The only thing is you can say like it's not overpacked, but it basically has like 3 almost distinct stories going on all at once. So it's not one just linear, just moving all the way through kind of a storyline. I did feel like it kind of like hit the brakes a little and moved into different stories and then jump back out, because the movie really has to slow down to get him back into his relationship with his past friends and really, you know, Zendaya and, you know, Ned and all that stuff. So you really have to do that slowly. And then even the Bernthal stuff and all those things, like you have to dip in and out on those so it can't just be right on the tracks for that too. So I never felt the time, like you said, the runtime either. It's just, you know, there are times when you can tell when the movie has to like slow down and move around. But they did well with I actually contend against, I thought Sadie Sink was perfect casting. I thought she was really well done. The only thing that is to be determined, and we can get into that later, is if this is how they're introing the X-Men and they're already messing with the origin story of their first character here and how it's going to match up later, I don't know what the ramifications of that are. And if Secret Wars is going to mess any of that stuff up and shoot us out on the other side anyway, so who cares?
Right.
But I'll tell you, as like a movie and as a story, I was all in on how they set that up with the sister and the damage control and the whole thing. This also, I said to you off air, I also thought a lot about Thunderbolts, because that is probably the last movie that we both kind of wrapped our arms around in the MCU proper without Sony. Yeah. And that movie is a lot like this movie, where it has a complicated villain who is going to eventually kind of turn itself around and kind of work within the structure of the good guys in the movie. And it deals a lot with kind of trauma and, working out, mental health stuff and everything else. So, yeah, I think this is if this is the path forward to where we can get everybody on board, young, older, comic book fans, general population, like if this is how we're going to do this and put emotion back into the MCU and get people to care versus like what we kind of are seeing from like Avengers Doomsday trailers or something, where it's like it seems a little forced.
Right.
This works a lot better. And the trailer for this movie didn't even show Sadie Sink proper.
Sure did.
So I love that it kind of hit itself what it is and still was this successful, which should teach us all, whether it's teach the studios, teach us, like, we don't need all this. We just need to know that the biggest movie stars are in here. The biggest characters in here. It's a built up story. This is the closest, which is why it's doing like Endgame, Infinity War numbers. It's because we followed them for now into a fourth movie. This is the closest thing the MCU has now to the buildup that it got to Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, I just didn't think that it would. I honestly still don't believe it did what it did. I really
no. I'm still shaking my head.
Even given that all the movies have been good and we followed these characters for a while, but still, like, I did not see this coming at all. So I was blindsided. And I also thought, as much as we kind of got on Tom Holland for being like the weakest part of the Odyssey.
Yeah, I had the same thing where it's like, this is a reclamation for him.
Oh, absolutely. Because he just emotes Peter Parker and his struggles and what he's going through so well.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was born to play this role. Like, and it's funny, like, we bashed him for the Odyssey, but then this is like he slides right into where he's supposed to be. Yeah. And it's like, man, can you give this kid any other project where he can carry this over to that? Like,
well, no, it makes a lot of sense. I saw a video where, and this speaks to my heart too, and I'm sure it will for you. He said that he tries to bring Marty McFly energy to Spider-Man.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you can see it. Like, you can totally see it.
Him and Michael J. Fox, he's like basically swole Michael J. Fox in a way. Because he's got that kind of short stature, attractive leading man thing. The difference is, I can't picture poor Michael J. Fox trying to be in a superhero movie. No. But if there was some kind of version of that to happen, I love that comp for him, and I love that North Star for him to be like, I need to be funny. I need to be the connective tissue between everybody. I need to be a leading man and have fun as well as being dramatic and following through on the plot. I loved all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Like I said, he knocked it out of the park. So to get my stuff with G, I agree. That was my only negative. I don't like. I love Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. That wasn't my problem. Yeah. It was like, again, changing kind of some of her origin stories. Where is that going to go?
Right.
Heading to the future. The whole VMAX thing was kind of a letdown for me. I'm not going to lie. When they revealed what it was, it's kind of.
I thought it was going to be some big uncovering, secret stuff.
Right.
That
so
maybe even led us into more X-Men stuff or anything else.
I wasn't a big X-Men comic head, so please, like, comic dorks, like, don't come at me. Like, right. I never, in the cartoons and the movie, I didn't see her jumping into people like that. So that kind of threw me for a loop. And like her end motivation at the end of the day, like, I know it's her sister, but it's like a typical revenge plot. Like, moving forward, like, if, like you said, if this is going to introduce mutants into or X-Men into the MCU, I have no problem. I have faith in this writing team, and
I do too.
Going forward. And, so I didn't have a problem with that. What I also laughed at was like him and Ned at the very end. Yeah, that was a cute moment. But is that all it really took for them to break that spell? Was the handshake? Like, okay.
Considering all he had to do throughout the whole movie for
kind of, but I did
Zendaya
like that
to kind of turn around.
Yeah, I know. I did like all that stuff. Them three together and all their scenes, and him like coming to grips with that. Her getting the letter. Right, the letter and stuff like that, and that speech to him was like, I just don't. It hit. It was really good.
Yeah, this is where you really see the benefit of them not only working together this whole time, but also being a married couple,
Yeah.
really making that work in these intimate kind of moments. And
Well,
just two excellent
yeah,
actors,
two
too.
excellent actors. And it's like you said, like they had so much they had to like weave into this movie between the band, but I thought they did it really well. And like you
I
said,
think so.
there were slower parts, and that's when I went to the bathroom. But like still, you need the exposition with everything with damage control and what they're really doing and his inner
Yeah.
struggles and him transforming into whatever he's going to transform. I thought it was all great, man. Again, the action
Right.
scenes with him and the Hulk were fantastic.
Oh, God. The scene in the bank or whatever, right?
Yeah.
No.
Or
Yes?
building.
No, sorry. In damage control.
In damage
excuse me.
control, right.
With Spidey, Jean Grey, Hulk, and Punisher. That is just a nerd boner moment.
Oh my God.
That you're and it brought you back because the scene when Hulk fully goes after Spider-Man and you're seeing him whip him around like a rag doll, it brings you back to the Loki stuff and
Yep.
in the Avengers movie and whatever else.
And the funniest part of that scene was when Frank comes in, he's like, "What are you doing? This is out of your league. You're fighting the Hulk." And then and then when he smashes the floor, like you can see Frank's face, like, I probably made a mistake here. Like, you know? But I thought it was cool in that scene where he's like grabbing Frank and like dragging him as the Hulk. Is like the whole sequence of choreography was fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
To be honest, the best choreography, I don't know if you had this feeling when I was telling you before that I was thinking about Thunderbolts, but I also saw like kind of pieces of other movies. The scene where Spidey takes on the Hand, that just looked like it's the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Like it just looked exactly almost like the Neo stuff because they even kind of did not the bullet time, but a little close to that. And just him just dismantling them, the slow, methodical way of taking them apart and then jumping around the room and doing all that. So I was like, this looks like the freaking Matrix. And it was like in a cool superhero way.
And I told you before I think we went on, that was my favorite scene of like the fight sequences was him in the Hand.
By far.
And it was funny, before I move on to the hands, or before I get more into the hand stuff, like, I was worried, like, when I saw this, I'm like, how are they introducing the Hand? Is Daredevil going to be in this? Like, what's going on? Right. But they explained it in a way that it made sense. You know, like, their security for damage control made sense. But that whole, you know, the whole sequence where, like...
And they were a part of the montage in the beginning and all that stuff, so it helps. Yeah.
So, like, when the Hand are doing everything, like, synchronized swimmer kind of stuff, like, they're all in sync.
Yeah.
That was... And even, like, the Spider-Man made the comment, like, oh, man, that was cool. Like, that was really cool. But like, you know, that moment where he can control it and be both. And like, you know, when he got to the top and did the little spinny thing, that was awesome, dude. Like that whole sequence was so great. But like, I can't get over like how good, like him and like, again, John Bernthal and them together in this movie just made it for me, especially with what happens at the end with Frank Castle and what, you know, it's like, yeah, like it was so. I don't want to like totally spoil it for people for the one person that hasn't seen it yet, but like
I know, right? Yeah.
But them two together, especially at the end, because like you see the introduction of Frank at it's like 20, 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
But then he kind of goes away for a while, like
he does.
And then when he comes in that final act, though, I mean it's awesome. So it's like, man, I want more of this. I want to know what happened on Staten Island. Like,
yes, I do too. That should almost be its own mini movie.
Give me that.
That would be amazing.
You know, and we were worried, like, how are they going to, like, how do they know each other? Like, what, they never, like, pieced those two together. But, like, all they had to mention was Staten Island. It's been 4 years. They've probably come across past. I didn't even think about it when they were together bantering back and forth, you know?
Right.
And to me, this is the best use of, like, the Punisher since, like, Daredevil season 2.
Agreed. I was actually going to ask you about that, considering you're wearing the Punisher shirt and everything else to represent. Yeah, I mean, for how much I've complained to you about how he kind of feels in Born Again, that it doesn't feel anything like the Netflix version and even the Netflix TV show, let alone the Daredevil stuff. It's been a long time, and I think this particular the strength of this movie is in the chemistry that Holland as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, has between everybody. It's like so many. It's not like he has to just work off one or the other. He works well with Sadie Singh. He works well with Bernthal. He works well with, you know, Mark Ruffalo in this version of the Hulk and Banner. And obviously doing the reclamation of his past relationships with Ned and MJ. So he's got a lot to work with, and he's got a lot of work to do, and I think he nails each one.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, did you have things that you thought didn't quite line up for you? Because the only thing for me is that I don't think the punctuation of the end was as strong as I hoped. Like the whole Marissa Tomei talk, Aunt May talking to her in his mind, and that little conversation to be the way that they kind of fix that whole thing. I didn't feel that punch with that. I didn't feel like, oh, this is the dialogue that's going to send me, swooning or whatever. I didn't think it did, but it's a nitpick, but that's really the only thing that like sits in my brain of like, I don't think that was as strong as I hoped.
It's a little nitpick for me too, only because they showed that same scene like two scenes, like they showed it multiple times.
Correct. Yeah.
So I thought when they were going to go into the May stuff again, we would see like a more emotional gut punch kind of scene or speech, but it was like the same one. So it was like the third time I've seen this scene. It carried less weight in my opinion. Even when Peter walks into the room and he's like, "Sorry, what happened to your eye?" I thought like we would get another scene with that, and then for Jean Grey to realize like, oh, he's like me. He went through loss. Like he understands what I'm going through. That scene didn't seal it for me.
Yeah, see, that was the toughest part.
But again, for all the strong points in this movie, like again, we are just like nitpick. Like that's a nitpick.
But it matters as far as like how many times have we said, the end matters so much in how you walk away from a movie that you can start slow and then build to a big end. And again, there's so much to like in the end too. You're between Berthnall's Punisher, really kind of
the hospital
lessons and humanizing himself and really showing. I thought actually he had better lines as things went along between his conversations with, Spider-Man, as things went along to talk about the isolation and how it's like a death, it's like a sentence. It's not a, something that he should aspire to, that they're not the same and that he has options and he's just not doing it. There's a big difference between who the Punisher is because of his loss and what Peter Parker chooses to do with what he's done with the time, and that he does have friends and that he can build. There's a big difference between the two. And I thought that relationship and that dialogue worked better than Peter trying to talk Sadie Sink off a ledge and get her back into the fold.
Totally agree. The hospital, the end scene with them two together. And
you just love, like, you had to have loved John Bernthal putting on the Spidey head and going. That was so funny.
It was great. But like, no, the talk of him like being emotional, crying, and Peter making fun of him. He's like, no, whatever. He's like,
yeah.
But again, it kind of brings Frank back to like when he's like, yeah, you looked exactly like how I thought you were gonna look. Like a good kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So it's almost like it's exactly what you said. I'm trying to put new thoughts, but yeah, I agree with you totally. It's like it just has that human connection, emotional movement between the two. Like Frank cares, like he legitimately cares about this kid, and they don't have to be alone. Like
right.
And Zendaya was that connective tissue that made Frank realize, like, no, he needs you. Like, go. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah, but this is my only thought coming into this podcast and this recording is like, I just feel bad in a way that I'm like, I don't have anything to say that isn't like already in the ether or like in the thing, because it's just the movie showed up.
Yep.
The movie
delivered,
justified its runtime. The movie did everything with the newly added characters that you could possibly ask for. It's a crowd pleaser. It didn't like, do something that's going to jeopardize probably stuff going forward. There's no like, oh, I had to think about what timeline I'm in. It didn't like give me any of those normal MCU hangups. It was just a solid movie that worked. And it's hard not to be like, yeah, so cool. Been a 20 minutes. Good day. Like whatever. It's hard not to do that.
Here's my big nitpick.
Okay.
This is what pissed me. The one thing that pissed me off in this movie more than anything, and I'm like, I can't believe I did this. I stayed to the end credits. What
Yes.
a crappy post scene credit.
Speak on it.
Like, we're waiting for 15 minutes. I'm expecting someone to like do a cameo, show up, like whatever. Like, I was
Yes.
expecting someone physical to show up.
Right.
Like, but no, you got that app, that Ned, which I
Yep.
loved that he was tracking the Spider-Man stuff through the whole thing, and he had that app, the Spidey Tracker app.
Yes.
Like, all you did is see the app, and it's like not online.
Especially because it looked like the old Spider-Man video games.
Yeah,
from,
it looked like a
when
Game
you're
Boy.
Super young.
It looked like a Game Boy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he's jumping, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, his thing shows up again, but it's off world. It's like, really? I sat through all, like, we didn't get a peek at a character. We didn't get a peek at anything. No one else showed up.
Spider-Man's in space.
Yeah,
Cool.
I don't care. Is it another Spider-Man? Like, is it, like, I don't know. But, like, to sit through 15 minutes of that, for that, I was hot. I was like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
But again, would you rather have that or us having the constant conversations throughout the MCU of like, hey, they teased this character and he's never showed up?
Yeah, Charlie
Or,
Theron's never showing up again.
Yeah, exactly. What's up, Harry Styles?
Yeah.
When are you coming back? You know, all that stuff. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So all of these things, you could make a compilation of how terrible these things have been. But yeah, it could have been worse.
So let me ask you something. So at the very end, you see Jean Grey on the bus.
Yeah.
My takeaway was she's heading to Charles Xavier's school.
You would assume.
Because, yeah, you're looking at the, you know, everything, the woods.
Or she will end up there eventually.
Yeah, because she looks like she's going upstate, you know, on a bus somewhere. So I think that's where she ends up is there somehow. Maybe in the next movie, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on after this movie, like how they're going to jump this off. I will say, like,
I don't know.
This franchise has set such a standard. Like, I hope they just kind of learn, like, just do this. Do this more.
Yeah.
Do this more.
Do you think this is the last Tom Holland
I don't.
Spider-Man movie?
That's hard for me to say because, again, this is a franchise that all 4 movies are, like, excellent. Like, they're solid.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go from here. Like, I don't know how they keep this.
I don't know either.
I don't know where they keep this momentum. I'm sure Sony's like, no, we're going to do, like, no, we need to figure it out. We need to do one.
Yeah, you don't make this kind of money and walk away from that.
So,
and this is his iconic character. I know he's trying to branch out.
Right.
And listen, what was there, 5 years between movies?
Yeah.
So if they do that again, you know, he could still have his Odyssey. He could still have his, you know, shots at trying to do something serious and all those things and then come back to it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking
again.
At some point maybe introduce Miles Morales into the live action world where maybe Tom Holland's more of a mentor to him.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go. That's where my brain was just like racing. Like,
yeah,
you're going to run out of ideas sooner or later. Like,
yeah, I mean, in a way, they kind of rebirthed this so they can kind of probably make, if they said, listen, because of how we're doing this movie, and it all depends on Secret Wars and everything and all those things that are going to come out there, that's going to shake up a lot of things. But if they said, listen, we had a trilogy of how it was before they lost each other, and that was the teenage years, that was the high school Peter Parker. And now we're going to do 3 adult Spider-Man movies and we're going to bring in new villains and we're going to do all that. I could see them saying that.
Yeah.
Especially for all the money that they're making. I can't imagine that they're going to keep being as good as this, but I mean, speak to that, man, because you actually rewatched all of the films. And I'll say for myself, if I was to power rank them, I probably would go. Well, all right. How about we do this first?
Okay.
First and foremost, let's score this one.
Okay.
I'll let you start on.
I give this one a 4.5.
I thought about it. I don't know. Here's what I do know.
Okay.
I went back and looked at the scores I gave the original 3, and I went 4, 3.5, 4. So, do I think that this one is the best of the 4? Probably. Does that mean it's so far above the other ones that I enjoy the most to make it 4.5?
Right.
I don't know, because it's close. It's really close. Like, part of me wants to, but then I think about the other movies we've given 4.5 this year, and like, I know I felt stronger about those movies than I did about this one. This one is a good, but it's a really good. Like, it's so strong in parts, and it's, as far as superhero movies, you're talking cream of the crop of like the recent memory.
All right. So all the listeners out there. So if Andrew gives us a 4 or whatever he's going to give it, go after him like you did for me on Project Hail Mary, please. Like, that's all I'm asking for here.
No, this is probably my equivalent to that, because while, again, I think it works on so many levels, I just don't think it does have that emotion, like as strong of an emotional punch as I felt during Project Hail Mary, during even The Invite, or Tuner, or any of the other movies that we kind of went this year. So I'm like, okay, it's not up there, but how close is it to that? And but we also, when we talked about the Odyssey, I gave that 4.5 because I think that's just a better overall movie than this movie.
You're thinking
that's
too
also
much,
a 4.5.
You're thinking too much.
Well, I mean, we're at that part of the year, right? Because we've gotten so many good movies that when I start kind of jumbling it together, so that's the only thing where I could justify a 4.5.
But so it's like my kids ask me they always ask me, "Hey, Dad, would you rate this movie?"
Right.
I said I gave it 4.5. They're like, "Would you give No Way Home?" I said 4.5. They're like,
"Did you?"
Well,
okay,
I did, and they're like,
"Yeah,
well, which one do you like better?" And I'll tell everyone in a minute. And my point to them was, you can rate a movie, as you know, same grade, but one is in your mind just slightly higher than that one.
Yeah, just a little stronger.
Just a little stronger. So your cheat code, maybe you want to give this a 4.25.
Well, dude, it's got a 4.1 letterbox.
I
to
know.
me, I'm like, that's exactly what I'd probably like to give this movie.
But you can't give it a 4.1. So
no. Yeah. No, I'd love to give it a 4.25.
Yeah. I know you. I know you.
But again, and the same thing probably happened with No Way Home. Like, I think this is a better narrative than No Way Home, except No Way Home has the Aunt May emotional punch and the 3 Spider-Man, and like there's some little added kind of either high drama or fun moments that are like iconic that I just go, to me, it's between those two. I will say that. I think Homecoming is third, and I think even though I like Far From Home, that's a 3.5. It's just a notch below kind of the quality of what they did, but it's a fun time, and I like it.
I would agree. Semi
in the order?
Semi agree, because this is where I'm stuck. Like, No Way Home for me is number 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because again, I like the emotional Aunt May stuff. I like how he had to say goodbye to everybody and knowing that everyone's going to forget him. That connection was strange, and Strange's like, I'm going to lose a friend. And then he's like, yeah, like the whole thing. I love seeing the old Spider-Man and Sam Raimi villains in there.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. I love Tobey Maguire coming back and Andrew Garfield. Because again, I just rewatched all these this weekend, and I'm like, this is my jam here. So that's one. Where I'm having a struggle is between this one and Homecoming. Like, seeing him step into Spider-Man and try.
Keaton is really good.
Keaton is good, and Tony Stark being his mentor, and him trying to, be more than a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, him trying to prove himself and like what it's like to be a superhero, and him in school, and him liking this girl. Like, it's funny. It's just like the Keaton stuff is really good, and just him learning his way to what it's like to be a superhero. Like, it's not more. You have to be more than the suit. Like that whole thing.
Right.
It all works. So I'm struggling between this and Homecoming. But this has, like, again, it has the more comic booky, dorky stuff. It has the Hulk, and it has the Punisher, and it has this. Yeah. That's where, like, my geekdom is like, oh my God. Like,
I think it has better scenes.
Yes, it definitely has.
And I think the Sadie Sink stuff, like the origin story, I really liked. See, I love Keaton as the Vulture because I love Keaton, and he's so intense, and that whole thing works really well. But I think the stuff here with Sadie Sink and Damage Control, like as a combination, and then mixing it between setting the Hulk loose, I think is just a little bit more. I don't know if it's the fun or the comic booky thing
that's
getting
exactly
to me
it's
more.
the fun stuff, right?
I think it's a little better. It's a different tone.
It's a different
which,
tone.
by the way, the one thing we probably haven't mentioned, and I need to, Destin Daniel Cretton. Much respect. Every interview I've seen, his deep knowledge with the comic book stuff, his love for it, and the fact that it was a high bar by John Watts.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in here and no one has said fucking boo about John Watts, and they didn't miss a beat. And some people will say that this is the best one, which is high praise when he was coming off of all those movies.
Right. So at the end of the day, this by a hair, by a razor thin margin, this is just ahead of Homecoming, but they're neck and neck.
Okay.
Man. If you go back and watch Homecoming, it's so much fun. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, the high school of it, the initial meets and all those things.
The Donald Glover scene.
The pure essence of Spider-Man.
Yeah, him trying to figure out his gadgets in the suit, and it's so fun. And then Far From Home picks up the rear, which I hate to and we're not bagging on that movie. Because
I think it's better than what it's listed as.
And I told you, going into this, it's a better movie than I thought. Like, on rewatch, when I first, I'm like, yeah, it's good. It was solid. But coming out after Endgame and, Iron Man not being there, it's like, Jake Gyllenhaal stepping. But some of the scenes there were just great.
And the actual production, the character design of Mephisto and all that is really well done. I think it's undersold because of people not maybe enjoying the movie as much, or the plot as much. But all that's incredible considering where we were, especially with comic book heroes at the time.
Yeah. And Ned gets his shine a little bit more in Far From Home, right? So I ended up giving it Far From Home at the bottom, but close. The thing that I found funny about watching Far From Home again, coming off of Homecoming, is Homecoming, him and Zendaya or him and MJ never even beat because he has that crush on Michael Keaton's daughter. Then it's the very beginning of Far From Home, his whole plan is to get with MJ. So it's we glossed over where did his infatuation start with MJ? But it's a minor whatever. Still a fun time, but pulled up the rim. But it's still a really good movie, a really good movie.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to hold with my 4 here.
You're okay.
I think, now that we've talked this through, but I think you're right. Now that I'm kind of dipping back, I think this one is either tied with No Way Home, or No Way Home just tips slightly above. And so that's why I think, because I gave that one a 4, I'm going to give this one a 4, and I'm going to kind of hold that. But the consistency and the quality, we mentioned it, put this against, the only thing to put it against is probably the Captain America, or if you count the Avengers movies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, the Avengers as their own thing. I did think about that today too.
And even as that, you tell me, which one would you rather watch? Far From Home or Age of Ultron?
Far From Home.
And I'd be like,
yeah, Far From Home.
So, as far as clunkers go, but the heights, that's where you can make the argument, because Infinity War is every bit as good as what they're doing here, or if not better. So, yeah.
And I only brought up Miles Morales, which I don't think they'll do, but I brought that up after watching No Way Home again. That's what Tobey Maguire was. He was that, OG, kind of for the brief time he was there, kind of like a mentor, to Tom Holland's young Peter Parker or Spider-Man. So I thought maybe
the only thing, sorry, go ahead.
I know. I just said I thought maybe it could have that dynamic somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Tobey Maguire was really good in No Way Home. He was the anchor to no, this is not who you are. This is who we are. This is what we do, is what he said.
Yeah, but that's the only thing, and this is so stupid, but it's the only reason why I even thought about giving this one the top slot, was the fact that you're talking about villains from the past, you're talking about characters from the past. It's almost like a cheat.
It is.
And I thought that movie kind of, the beginning of it kind of is a little slow, because you're introducing the Doctor Strange part of it, the characters coming in from, that, I forgot how, remind me how the like Jamie Foxx and all these other ones come through like a port, like somewhere like strange.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
trying to
because
remember.
Peter wants people, because this Mysterio revealed who he was. He
Right.
was trying to do a spell where people would forget that he's Spider-Man. And
Right.
he kept trying to change Doctor Strange's spell, but it was too late. Like he opened a crack to the multiverse.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where some of the OGs slipped in there.
Right. Because to me, I'm like, that's where it's a little cheating, because like the villain here, like in the whole Sadie's thing, I think this is the new path forward. So I think that's where I get excited about this particular
me
movie,
too.
Brand New Day.
Yeah.
And kind of, again, that Thunderbolts-ish adjacent thing to where you see, okay, we could be more dynamic in the storytelling. These are based on comic books that are not, the 80s or the 90s or whatever. These are like late 2000s stuff that they're pulling, and we've had some issues with maybe them going, like your Ms. Marvel and some other stuff like that, to where we pulled something too new and it didn't quite work. And even like She-Hulk and things like that maybe didn't work because they did newer iterations. I don't know. Like this, they picked like a really good time slot, and I think there's still more that they can do with this, and whatever the follow-up is in the comic from that. That's what I would need to talk to someone who really knows the comics from that time period to see maybe what we're going to get in movies next.
Right.
But I think they're in a good spot, and they're kind of scratching the same itch.
Right.
And getting more emotional back into the MCU.
And personally for me, why I went back into the rewatch, because again, I didn't see the first two in a long time, but I didn't want any, like, how people come out of a new movie like, this is the best one of the series. I didn't want that recent bias for me. I wanted to go back and like just watch them all and be like, was this really the best one that they've done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to eliminate that bias in like my thinking here. So, but I'm very excited about whatever they do going forward here. So, just real quick,
I'm so scared of the Doomsday being like a speed bump in all of this.
Here's the thing. It may. Okay. So I think I told you, my audience, that like I made a bet with someone at work that Doom, like he took Doom to outgross Doomsday domestically, not internationally. And he came to me and said, I think I'm worried now. I think Doomsday is going to outdo Doom by a lot. So
only because of the glow of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my point is, it could die down, because if Doomsday isn't good, it's going to have that great opening weekend, and then word's going to get out and be like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there is that. And especially, but if it has an opening weekend like this has an opening weekend, then what are we talking about? Because this did, 360 domestic in a week,
That's
weekend.
Crazy.
So it is. Like, if I remember correctly, I'd have to go back. Isn't that almost the total worldwide cume of Thunderbolts, practically?
Almost, yeah. I think
Thunderbolts
did like 4. That? Yeah, Thunderbolts did like 405 or something. Like it was like in the low 400s.
That's
right.
Insane.
Yeah,
they did more internationally in a weekend than Thunderbolts did total. Captain America: Brave New World did total.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like the only if you told me which one was going to make more money, this one or Deadpool Wolverine, that would have been an interesting conversation. But this is going to blow everything out of the water. This is going to blow out like all of the MCU records, I think.
I think so.
And literally, which means now we're talking biggest movies of all time conversation.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to watch.
We're talking, is this a 4 or 4.5?
I know.
That's what, but I get it.
It's gonna be fun to watch where this grows, because it doesn't have competition next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna roll for several weeks here, man. Like,
because if we want to look forward to next week here on this podcast, we're going to be talking the return of Ted Lasso.
Yes.
We might have some conversations about what's coming out as far as the movie theaters are concerned. If these, we were talking like, Spider-Man, they might just be like, we're going to take this showing of this other movie and we're going to add more Spider-Man. So you never know what you're going to get. But hypothetically, Super Troopers 3 comes out. What was the other one?
Ice Cream Man
Ice Cream Man.
and that rom-com.
Yes, and One Night Only.
One Night Only. Yep.
So, which again, I think the trailer looks good, looks fun. I'll see it. But again, big noisy movie like this, it's made so much money, it's probably still going to make a ton of money. And not to mention, we still have things like The Odyssey,
I was just
and Toy
thinking
Story
that.
5 and other things that are still making money. And dude, Obsession still made another $7 million worldwide over this past week or whatever. So this is insane because that movie's on home.
It is.
It's available at home,
yep.
and we're still doing 7 million. That's insane. So it's a lot of encouraging times with the box office. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to just revel in it because I mean, for how much the last few years have been like the doom and gloom of between COVID and what we've it's nowhere near pre-COVID numbers, nowhere near, and then here we are. So I am happy to see it. The only thing, and again, I would also like to say, this is great for everybody. Congratulations, this is awesome. But like, we're even seeing that same thing where it's Obsession, it's Backrooms, it's all these other movies that are succeeding too while this is going on. So it's not like we're just like, oh yeah, well, here come all the sequels again and all this because we're seeing some life lessons here too, where for the studios where Moana's kind of bombing, Supergirl bombed, Masters of the Universe bombed, Star Wars Mandalorian Grogu kind of bombed.
Yep.
So it's not as clean cut as like, let's just keep rolling out the same IP. It has to be the right way and also mix in chances on these other movies. So, yeah, I'm excited. For you, though, does this do anything for you to be more excited about Doomsday?
No.
No, me neither.
No.
Because I think this is so self-contained.
Yeah, self-contained is separate. So this does not enhance my excitement or take anything away from what I'm expecting from Doomsday, which again, don't want to do a whole, but it's like mid-level bar for me on that one right now.
And as far as like the X-Men future, I can't get too excited either because while I'm like excited about that so far Jean Grey works, which is a big hinging point in terms of X-Men. However, we are going to be walking into Doomsday, seeing a bunch of old X-Men. And then we're going to have the Secret Wars kind of wait to see how it comes out on the other side. We don't know who's playing who anymore. So it's hard to get excited. There are some rumors. I'm sure you saw the whole Samara Weaving for Emma Frost. And,
I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah. I think everyone is. Yeah. But yeah, so like, who knows what we're going to get. And not to mention Sadie Sink is the good casting and it is in here, but it is written by the Spider-Man crew.
Exactly.
So you don't know who's going to write and direct the next iteration of X-Men and all that. So this is where I get kind of like, I'm in, but skeptical because we have no clue.
Right.
So excellent job by you, sir, and way to do the homework and everything else on that coming here today. Appreciate that. Like we mentioned, kind of a grab bag a little bit, with Ted Lasso coming back and a handful of films coming out over the weekend that hopefully we'll get into. I'm also into the new, I'm covering it for what's on Netflix this week. Wagner Moura's new movie on Netflix. Do you know about this one? It's called The Last House. Did you see the trailer for this one? It's him and Greta Lee.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, where there's family sealed inside their home for like a long period of time. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting, I think. So I'm excited to see that one. So you have that at home on top of everything else going out into the theaters, plus Ted Lasso. And then before you know it, we'll be doing Reacher, which we talked about last week. There's a bunch of stuff coming up that we're going to be checking into. And then there's Lanterns, I think the same week as Reacher. So we got
some
lot of
stuff coming up
still to come. So August is going to be interesting. So be sure to like, subscribe, and go to @RecentActPod on all the socials. Be sure to send us some comments, get into the whole groove with us, if you will, either on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you consume this podcast. And be sure to come back next week for more recent activity.